Cool Hand Podcast, something you got to deal with. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host. My name is Q. We're back with another interview. I got to see this group that we're going to talk to today a little while back, maybe a couple months ago, something like that. And I got to see the live performance. I got to see the voice in action, the band in action. And we have a duo here. I want them to introduce themselves, and we're gonna get straight into it. So guests, thank you for having me, welcoming me into your spot. Yeah. Please introduce yourselves.
I am Ann Celedonia, lead singer and keyboard player of Eliza.
My name's Alex Hurd. I play bass and I do all the production and recording.
And Eliza, as a collective.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you for being on the Cool Hand Podcast. I want to congratulate you on your success so far. And you dropped a new single. And it's entitled Devil Behind My Door. Now, when I first saw this title, I'm like, what in the world is, like, what devil are we talking about?
Could be so many different ones.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we have one more guest here.
Oh, yes. This is Dembe Zuma. Dembe Zuma
Sit down.
just wants his spot in...
Yeah. He needs to be on the camera. All right, sit down.
Yeah.
He'll be a good boy.
Yeah, cool dog, by the way. You know, we kicked it. We we hung out with the dog some while we were setting up.
He's very excited. Yes, he loves people.
Yeah. So, Devil Behind My Door. This was had the privilege to see this live at the spot. What's the spot called?
Club Cafe.
Club
in
Cafe.
Southside,
Yes,
yeah.
that was the first time I was there in a while, and so it was nice to be back there too. So shout out to Club Cafe.
Yeah.
So Devil Behind My Door. This was recently released.
Yes.
How long ago? Maybe just a
Couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
On the 15th. I should know.
Yeah.
I released it on my sober birthday, April 15th.
Yeah.
And can you give a description of this song, what it's about, the inspiration behind it?
Absolutely. So this song I wrote when I was roughly 1 year sober. So actually about 6 years ago, because I'm 7 years sober now. And it is about my early sobriety and sort of my struggle with addiction. And in my early sobriety, when I wrote this, I still felt like my decisions with addiction were just chasing me still. And this song sort of just came out from that space that I was feeling.
Congratulations. First of all, so 7 years in total, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. 7 years is a long time. Is a very long time. So congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big feat. So when you talk about the devil being behind your door, is it symbolic for whatever vice or...
Yeah, like for me specifically, like my vice, I guess, was alcohol. But I think anyone can interpret kind of any song anyway. But for me, the devil was sort of like my active addiction self, still sort of seeping into my current sober life that I was just starting, and I just felt like I couldn't get away or erase things. And you can't really erase anything, but that's sort of what the devil was for me. It was just this shadow like lurking, and I just felt like I couldn't get rid of it. Imperfect people, we're the things that we deal with in the past. It's like you got to live with it and fight it until the day that you die. So I think that applies to, like you said, it can be interpreted for anyone in any way. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Now, how the song came together, because it's one thing, did you start writing it first, or did you hear some production and then start writing it, or how did that song really come to light? So I started writing it. Most of the songs, actually all the songs we have out currently, I wrote first.
I think so.
And like I sat at the piano, whether it was at his studio or at my old house or whatever, and just wrote. And I think I actually wrote that one at my old house. And I wrote it pretty quickly, which doesn't always happen. Actually, most of the time that doesn't happen. I'm sort of fighting with songs to like get words and parts and chords and whatever. But I wrote that whole thing, I think, mostly start to finish. And then I brought it into the studio and tracked it. And we kind of struggled with that one for a little while because it's a little more poppy than
a lot of the other stuff that I wrote, if I remember correctly, from 6 years ago, even though it just came out.
I think with these, with the songs that Anne was writing at the time, we didn't want them, a lot of, the easy way to do them, I think, would be to like make them just piano pop songs. Right. And so we were kind of trying to like, let's see where we can like take this and make it something a little more, maybe with a little more depth than like just a straight piano pop kind of song.
Right.
And we did that with a lot of the record, with the whole record, I think. And Devil Behind My Door and Stay With Me were the two that were kind of the most, that stayed in that, the kind of more piano pop world. Which is why I think we ended up releasing them as singles instead of putting them on our first record.
Right. Stay With Me isn't out yet for anyone who's confused.
Yeah, sorry.
It will be. But yeah. Because we recorded everything that came out on the record a couple years ago. Devil Behind My Door and Stay With Me were recorded at the same time. But yeah, we just felt like they were much more piano pop forward than more ambient piano pop, which is what our first record is like. So, and I mostly write the songs and then I bring them into Alex, and you pretty much produce that.
Yeah, she'll come in with a, like she said, a piano and vocal part that we'll record, and then I kind of take it from there and see. I try to find a drum beat. Usually I'll start with like a drum machine, something just to like get a basic beat, and then kind of like flush the song out that way. So yeah, I think that's probably how this one went.
Yeah.
All right, so it's kind of a reintroduction now. Although you said the song was written a couple years ago, or so
a little while ago, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that attributes to the point that music takes time.
Absolutely.
This isn't something you just churn out.
Right.
So with this song coming out, it's, for me, looking at it and looking at your previous work being from 2021, it's kind of like a reintroduction, a welcome back, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it looks like there was a little break in between. But before we get to that, Devil Behind My Door, it's out. It's out on all platforms. If you live in Pittsburgh, you can probably see it live. So let's talk about the group and its history. So where are you guys from?
We're both from Pittsburgh. Actually, we grew up not far from each other, but didn't know each other. Yeah. Born and raised here. Went away for college, came back. We'll probably live here forever.
Yeah, both grew up in the South Hills. So,
Gotcha.
But we're how many years apart in age?
I'm bad with that. I think we're like 4 years apart.
4 years apart,
Okay.
something like that. So we didn't know each other until we met. We were both touring with the Common Heart.
Yes.
Anne was a singer. I was doing sound for the Common Heart. So that was 2017.
Yeah. It was like a month before I got sober.
Okay.
Or after, sorry. Well,
Okay.
after I got sober, yeah. So 2017.
So yeah, that's how we met, in the context of both being in that band.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys spent a good amount of time with each other, and I guess like the friendship kind of just grew where you were able to start your own band together or start collaborating together. So what was that like? Because working with someone with music, you have to be on the same page. Even if you're not, you have to come to an understanding with each other, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how did you guys really come to the decision to work together?
You kind of initiated, not necessarily that we would work together like as bandmates, but when I joined the Common Heart, I mean, yeah, you're touring in a 10-seat van with 9 people or 11, and I don't know. There was one extra seat, and it was for food. So yeah, you get very close to people very fast, and we just talked a lot. You sat in the seat in front of me in the van, and we had a lot of things in common. And he had his studio and asked me to come in and write some songs, and I kind of laughed him off because I was like, I've never done that. I don't know. But he's very encouraging. Had me come into the studio and just write some songs, and told me to listen to certain artists that he thought my writing sound like that I hadn't listened to, and then we realized we had just a lot of similar music tastes and ideas that complemented each other, I think.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, I heard her sing, and I was like, she has an amazing voice. And then I think I probably asked, like, do you ever write any songs? Like, I think that was... And she was like, well, kind of, like...
I don't remember that. I thought I said no.
I don't think that I was just like, you should write. I think you...
Well, no,
I think
but...
you maybe, like, gave the impression that maybe you did or you wanted to write...
Fair.
Something. I think. Maybe.
You're a very intuitive person, though, too.
But so I was like, okay, let's, like, explore that. Like, I have a studio. Like, it doesn't cost us anything to explore that. Like, you're really talented. Let's see what happens. So I think that was there wasn't, like, the idea of, like, we'll be a band, though.
Right, no, it was
just like, let's see what happens with writing some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know, because I was going to ask, prior to this, were you just writing your own music and, keeping it to yourself? So you weren't just actively writing music at the time before this.
I had tried in previous years to write songs, but I just didn't like any of them, and the ideas didn't go anywhere. I never had written like a complete song. I don't even think I ever finished like an idea in voice, like your phone voice notes, or if I would write it out on paper. But I've played piano since I was 5. I started classical piano when I was 5 and studying voice when I was 5. So like I've been a musician my whole life, but I just never wrote any songs or anything. So,
and that's what was crazy to me, was like all these songs that ended up on the first record and the single that we just released and the one that we will release, they were all like essentially the first songs that she wrote. Mm-hmm. There was maybe one or two that you wrote that we maybe like saved for later or something, but essentially these 12 songs or whatever were like kind of the first 12 songs she wrote, which I thought was amazing. Like, I was like, these are great songs. So, yeah.
Well, shout out to you guys. Yeah, congratulations. And it's really nice, though, to have someone to kind of be a part of your engine to not just get you going, but keep you going, too, because who knows where that's going to lead. You have a project out now, you're dropping more music, and there's something special about just having singing your own lyrics, singing your own music. So, Alex, what about you? So how did you get into the production, the engineering? How far does that go back?
It goes back a while. I got into the Beatles like a lot of people do. I was 8 when I got into the Beatles. So that just like immediately sparked a desire to play music. And with that recording, it just they kind of went hand in hand for me. Like, I didn't see them as like that different of a process. So like I had a tape, a cassette tape recorder, and then I would get a second cassette tape recorder. So you'd record something onto the first cassette recorder, and then you play it through a mixer with another microphone, and then record that onto the second, and you keep going back and forth. So, like, I kind of figured that out. It's a thing that people have been doing people were doing for years, but no one taught me how to do it. I just kind of intuitively figured that out. So from very early, my interest with music was always intertwined with an interest in sound. And as I got older, my high school had a music technology class, which was really, like, in hindsight, that's really cool. Like, everyone had a computer and a keyboard, and, I had a class where it's like learning how to record music, which is really cool.
Yeah, I don't know any others, like many schools that have that.
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah.
Mine definitely did.
Yeah. So it was really cool, like, because I had this huge boost. Like, by the time I graduated and was 18, I could do a lot of recording stuff, which was really cool. And so that's how that all started for me.
Perfecting that.
Yeah.
What was, because the whole engineering side of music is something that I wouldn't touch with a 20-foot pole. It's a lot.
It's an endless world.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about this off camera about like video editing and how I do it, don't like it. But you have an interest in the engineering side. So what about the learning curve and, you know, perfecting it, the mixing, the mastering? You do live sound as well. You know, what's the learning curve like? What's your experience with, you know, kind of getting better and better at the craft?
There's something great about starting when you're too young to know like you're too young to know that it's like things are going to be really hard. You know what I mean? Like there's like a beginner's thing. So like you're too stupid to be like, oh, this is so hard, I'm not even going to try it. You just dive in. Like when you're like a teenager, you know? So there's something great about that beginner's mind. And one thing that as an adult that has, as I've kept working as a professional the past 18 years, is there's something in me that loves the struggle of it, like the striving to always get better at it. Like everything, I always want to be doing better and better at it. I can't explain where that comes from, but for something about like recording for me, recording an audio, it's just like always wanting, I love the puzzle of it, the mind, you know, the challenge of always trying to get better at it.
Yeah.
You know?
It makes
sense. Because if you didn't, it would be horrible. Like we talked about video editing. Like if you're not into it, it's just like would be a horrible, tedious thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. I always have to ask the engineers, you know, why do you do this?
Yeah. I can't explain. I definitely can't explain it. Like it's like it's just something that the bug that bit me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know?
They're almost like all that gear. I mean, it's like toys you tinker around and like all the musicians that, like as a musician yourself, like you see all those bands like Radiohead or whatever that do all that stuff. So like how do you make that sound? How did they do this? Like and learning that
very much became a part of our creative process, was like being like writing the album, writing the songs in the studio. Like the studio became like an instrument. It wasn't like we were a band with like, you know, traditional like drums, bass, guitar, and you just sit there and learn a song and then play it.
Right.
For us, like the process is very much building it in the studio from like a skeleton into a fully realized thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I heard Beatles.
Yep.
Radiohead. Now is Radiohead your thing, or did both of you guys mutually like Radiohead?
Beatles we both liked before. Radiohead, when I started hearing her write stuff, I was like, because Radiohead's one of my favorite bands of all time. And when I started hearing her writing, I was like, there's something in there where I was like, you should check them out. Like,
yeah, I'd never listened to them.
Okay.
I was like, I think it could be something you'd be into.
Yeah, now I'm obsessed.
Now I love me some Radiohead. I can't say I listened to the entire discography.
Yeah.
But she knows on my playlist. I love OK Computer. Love OK Computer.
Yep.
But this leads into inspirations. So let's start with you, Anne. Because we got a couple of yours, but I know there has to be more. So
how long do we have? We'll be here all day.
Yeah.
So let's get into some inspiration. So for you, were you singing since you were 5 or just the piano?
Both.
Okay.
I started like classical and like sort of theater classes, and then private voice lessons. And I was never in any bands. Actually, my first band was the Common Heart when I was like 26 or something when we met. But I just did private lessons and classical voice mostly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so as far as inspiration goes, I mean, I grew up with Frank Sinatra and The Who. So like a very like opposite, like extreme ends of the spectrum. But like I also listened to a lot of like top 40 pop music. But then when I joined the Common Heart, I was really introduced to like soul music, which I didn't know a whole lot about. And then he introduced me to Radiohead, and I just like, that's all I listened to for a lot of my writing. That and Harry Styles' first record, which has like not, I don't want to say similar Radiohead production, but some of that is in there. But yeah, so I mean, I'm inspired by a lot of different artists. One of my biggest inspirations is Andrew McMahon, which actually, that's him right there. If he's in the shot, I think he is. My husband did that. He's the frontman for Something Corporate and Jack's Mannequin, and now Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. And he plays piano. And as a pianist who wanted to be like a performer, not in an orchestra necessarily, being trained classically, that's sort of the route a lot of people go, or education or whatever. I always saw people with no instruments or guitars, and I was like, I don't fit here. And then I was introduced to Jack's Mannequin, one of his bands, from my cousin, actually. And I was like, this is so cool. This guy is like pop rock music. It's awesome. Like, I really identified with that. His story is amazing. So that inspired me, I think, a little bit in my writing. But Devil Behind My Door is probably the most Andrew or Jack's Mannequin sounding song we have. But the rest of them is more along the lines of somewhere else. But yeah, he's probably my biggest inspiration.
Okay. Andrew McMahon, Jack's Mannequin. And I noticed as I was looking at this beautiful artwork that your husband did, shout out to the hubby.
Yeah.
So I noticed the Smile poster back there, and I was at that show. So it's
We were too. That was the second one. We went to Detroit before that.
Yeah.
So we've been in the same capacity at some point before. It's interesting, small world. But But anyway, so Andrew McMahon. And another thing too, when you say you were introduced to soul, because I feel like I hear a lot of soul in your singing now. So what was the artists outside of the band you were touring with who really got you into soul as well?
I don't know why that feels like so long ago that I can't remember. Like, who would they play in the van? Just like rock soul music, like old 70s, like
everything from like Stax and Motown, whether it's Stevie Wonder.
Oh yeah.
She loves Stevie Wonder. I love Stevie Wonder. Sam and Dave, Otis Redding,
they
all the
play
old
all that,
stuff.
yeah.
Listen to a lot of that, 70s stuff like Al Green.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of like that whole crop of newer soul, like
we toured with JJ Grey.
JJ Grey, who was amazing.
Which I wasn't familiar with him before that.
Leon Bridges, like that first record that Leon Bridges put out was amazing. Really, like we were listening to that a lot at that time.
Yeah.
Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings.
Oh yeah, and we did a whole set on that. My memory's terrible. Also, like if someone asks me who I'm inspired by, I'm like, oops, who do I listen to?
It's hard.
It all goes out the back of my head, and I'm like, all my records are over there. I'd have to go look. I have no clue. No.
Charles Bradley.
Charles Bradley. We've done so much. Yeah, I have to unpack it in my head.
Yeah.
But then I was also listening to like a ton of like Derek and the Dominoes and like a lot of old 70s rock too. Mm-hmm. But I mean, my whole musical world just totally opened up once I joined Common Heart and got to know Alex, and you were like giving me things to listen to. But like, I think probably Andrew McMahon from the start, and then Radiohead, and like those like The Smile later, and Tom York's solo stuff, Atoms for Peace or whatever. So
yeah, we both grew up with like classic rock parents too, like
very limited classic rock.
The Who, Led Zeppelin, all those kind of like classic 70s. We both grew up with a lot of that, I think, too.
Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And just let's get some more of yours to give the people an idea of, who shapes you,
Yeah, I mean, Beatles and Radiohead, like I said, those are kind of like the big two. The big three, the third one would be Grateful Dead for me. I have this big jam band thing. I had friends in high school that got me into Grateful Dead and Fish. So that was like That was a lot. Like, that was what I was listening to in my teenage years a lot, kind of jam bands, which I think, like, that and Radiohead gave me this, like, desire to explore things a lot. Like, push where you think the boundaries are and go past that and explore things. So a lot of that stuff. When I started working at the Thunderbird when I was 18, I started getting into, like, old school country a lot. Listened to a lot of old school country. You know, so yeah, like, we were listening to a lot of old school country, blues, soul at the Thunderbird, especially. Like, that was like when the Thunderbird first opened, that was kind of like, that was the vibe of that place. It was all that kind of stuff. So that got me into a lot of that, I think. I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Your first project, according to Apple Music, it says 2021.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what was the title of that project?
The album is called I Wish You Well.
I Wish You Well.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, and I Wish You Well. So
Close enough.
Okay. So 2021. And when did you two start recording music together?
Was it 2017? Was it the same year?
I mean, we started
very late that year.
Very late that year, and we kind of started slowly.
That's when I first came into the studio at all and started writing,
So, like, stuff that really ended up on... Like I said, the studio is very much, like, it was very much a part of the process for us. So, it's
especially
hard.
for me, too. Like, even just writing like that. Like, I could write some stuff at home, but I really just found a lot of... I don't know, creative energy, inspiration, just being in that space with, like, all your gear around and all these, you've a Rhodes, you've got different pianos, and, like, it just was very, So
it's hard to say when it started exactly, because, like, we started doing demos, and then those demos slowly morphed into things and changed. So, but probably, 2018
Gotcha.
is fair to say.
Yeah.
And I think the album was mostly done before the pandemic.
Yeah, we had finished, like, writing, and you'd finished production, and then we just had to do, like, final takes. And the pandemic happened, and we were like, we don't know what to do.
It probably
like everyone else.
Yeah, like everyone else.
Yeah.
It probably would have come out at least a year earlier.
Probably earlier, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Probably would have come out a year earlier.
How would you describe that project?
It was definitely a learning process. It was like feeling each other out as creative collaborators, but like what we do. Like, we didn't know what it was becoming. We didn't know if we were a band.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it was very much like
and I was, like, learning how to write songs and learning what even just the gear was, or learning what you were doing on, like, it was just such a new world. Like, I'd never really been in a studio, and like you said, you like Grateful Dead and Radiohead, and they sort of helped you realize you could push boundaries and stuff like that. In the classical world is not a thing. There are rules when you, like, play classical music and write classical music. So, like, that was a whole new world for me. I just had endless boundaries. Like, I could write whatever I wanted. I didn't have to follow counterpoint or all this other stuff that didn't matter. So, like, learning that about myself and learning that, like, I could do that, and that, like, I also have synesthesia. So that probably... So yeah, I should explain. Synesthesia is when your senses are, like, crisscrossed, sort of. So, like, some people will, like, hear, like, if they hear a sound or something, like, or if they smell something, they'll hear a sound at the same time, or, like, whatever. Like, a lot of creatives have it. I think John Mayer, his whole thing is shapes, but, like, for me, certain words or, like, notes on the piano have color associations, people's names, time periods, kind of anything. I have colors. So, like, chords are colors. And, like, being classically trained, like, I always felt kind of weird because, like, I had these colors in my head and I didn't really like the order of them when I would learn classical music, and I sound really crazy. But when I could write my own songs, I could go wherever I wanted with whatever color I wanted. And I, like, trying to communicate that to Alex was probably really weird. And that was a big part of, like, the writing and recording process.
I would suggest something and she'd be like, wrong color.
Wrong color. So, yeah.
Like, okay, and I'd be like, I have no retort for that.
Like,
okay,
whatever.
it's the wrong color.
What about what's Brown
Yeah.
G. Still wrong. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
okay,
but like,
fair enough. I can't argue with that.
but what's cool is when I would come in after he'd be working on a song to like, you know, you'd be like, this is what I've added. All these colors would like explode in my head, which was really cool. And like, yeah, it was really fun to like experience like my songs being created and like things added by someone else, but totally like making sense to me. So. Yeah.
You don't sound crazy.
That's good.
Just FYI.
I just sound creative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense to me, and I feel like I'm the common man. So if it makes sense to me, then it should make sense to everybody watching or listening. Yeah. My wife said it sounds beautiful. So 2021, the project drops, and how did you, looking back, how do you feel about it now?
I'm really proud of what we put out.
I love that record.
Yeah.
Like creatively, like it's exactly what we wanted to do, I think. Mm-hmm. And no matter anything else, like the things surrounding the release, you know, if anyone thinks it's good, if anyone cares about it, whatever, all those things aside, I think it's exactly the record that we wanted to make.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's all that matters. Like it was really hard, but it came out exactly like how we wanted it to.
Yeah. Like I didn't really know what I wanted to begin with, like, I guess, because I obviously was new to the process, and being inspired by certain people, like, it's easy for me to get in my head about wanting to sound a certain way, but I was just like, doesn't matter, because those people are inspired by people they sound nothing like either, and whatever comes out of you comes out of you, and like how we collaborated, it was everything that was said and done, and the artwork and everything, I was really proud of it, and
yeah, even
it was
the artwork,
exactly what
like came out better than I could have imagined. Like just everything about it felt
really good.
Still feels good.
Yeah.
Like in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, for me, it's exactly what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good to hear, because you hear artists sometimes when they look at their past work, they, look at it like, oh, I hate that song, or oh, this could have been so much better, or this or that. So it's always good to hear when people like their past work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had one thing that's a luxury, and that's also can be a blessing and a curse, is that we had time. Like we weren't under any time limits. We weren't paying for studio time. So it gave us the ability to make it exactly like we wanted it. Yeah. Which was,
uncommon.
Yeah.
And nice.
So as a collective, what do you want people to get out of your music?
Joy, for me. I think that's the greatest thing music has provided me, is just joy, and I just want to pass that on. So, or any type of like
sometimes
just
it's not
positive emotion, like even if it's something they just need to get out or whatever. Like
sometimes it's like you get joy from sympathy, like you feel like that other person understands what you're going through, and even if that's a really tough feeling, you can still get joy from that. Like, oh, that person feels what I'm feeling,
right?
Which is a really amazing thing.
Yeah.
When there's an artist and you're like, I'm
not alone.
You get what I'm going through. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we don't write joyful music. That's not really what I guess that's not. I should clarify. But like, yeah, just to feel like you're not alone, and yeah, someone understands you. Because that's how I feel. Like some of my favorite artists, just like, okay, this is expressing something that I can't express right now, and like, this person that doesn't know me gets me, kind of thing.
All right. I want to spend a little bit more time. I'm going to ask a question for one of the songs that I really enjoyed off of I Wish You Well, and it was Without You. Now, that one was one of my favorites, so I'm selfishly asking for myself. Can you walk me through that song, the creation of that song, the lyrics, the production? What's up with that?
Do you want to start or you want me to start?
Do you want to talk about the writing a little bit, and then I can talk about the production?
Yeah. I wrote that song in about 10 minutes, which was crazy. It just came out, like, flowed out of me. chords, lyrics, melody, all of it. I don't even think I really changed much from the time I wrote it to I got to your studio, like at all. That I wrote in early sobriety. I think most of these I did, but I remember Devil and this one specifically I wrote with like a similar feeling of just sort of like this inner sort of sadness of something falling apart or crumbling and just accepting it and going separate ways, whether that's with a human being or just with something that you need to part with emotionally or whatever. And I was listening to Harry Styles' first record a lot, and he has this song called Meet Me in the Hallway, and it's sort of a similar vibe, and I felt that like this song gets me right now, and I just sort of went with that whole vibe, and Without You came out, and I gave it to you.
Yeah, and it's such a sparse beginning of it is so sparse, and I really wanted to lean into that, like, let's make this really sparse, and like, so the drum machine that's at the beginning of that is like this really simple pattern, and I probably like maybe was intended just to be a placeholder at the beginning, because I kind of put all these like beats in there just to like start giving us a direction. So I think that was probably just like a very early idea, because it's very basic.
Yeah.
But I think it just felt right to lean into how sparse that is at the beginning and just like give it all this space, so that at the end it can like really build to something, you know?
Your bass line is that you wrote is my favorite bass line.
It's probably my favorite.
Probably ever that you've done.
To play.
Yeah.
It's very melodic. But it's also, again, it's sparse, but I think it's like when it does speak, when it does play, it's very meaningful, because it's like every part of it's important. At least that's what I tried to do. Yeah. I think.
How much compromise goes into making music with each other? Because you may write a song, come to the studio, and then it's kind of like you're filling in. Is it not filling in the blanks, but you're adding to it. You want to make her vocals sound the best they can with the instruments behind it, or the, like you said, the bass line, the drums, whatever. So how your dynamic works, how's the communication, the compromise? You may not like this color when you hear this sound.
Right, exactly.
walk us through that.
There's none. We agree on everything at all times. There's never
SOS.
There's never
we don't. I feel like we don't disagree like too much.
We're good at working.
We like work through it and sort of pick what would satisfy the other, but also like I feel like we're both very honest about like, I really like this, but it doesn't belong in the song kind of thing, which like you have to be aware of. Like you can't just be like, I want this in there because I want it in there. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you can put it somewhere else later. So like we're aware of that kind of thing.
I feel like we can say to each other, like, if someone comes up with an idea, like, yeah, I like that, but it's not right.
Yeah, or I don't like that. I've definitely said that.
Yeah. But it doesn't serve...
And you have.
Yeah, that it doesn't serve the song.
Yeah. Like, I remember for Lose You, I wrote a lot of background parts. And we didn't keep, like, one separate melody because it was too much. And I was, like, kind of fighting to keep it. And you were like, no, like, what? This is too much in so many words or whatever. Yeah. And I was like... I was being a little bit of a baby about it because I like just liked all these. That was one of the things. You need someone to be like, no, this is cool, but it doesn't belong. We have to get rid of one. And you were right. Like there were two men and we got rid of it. Yeah. That's the only like specific thing I can really think of where we were like,
with the amount of time that we spent, it's like we had time to like slowly get to where we wanted to be, you know, like without, it wasn't like we would disagree with something, but that decision had to be made like that.
Right, that's true. Yeah. We could like sleep on it or whatever if we wanted to, but
We definitely, so yeah, there's definitely different disagreements, but I think it's all in the spirit of like trying to make it better. So we're not like, we try not to get upset about it.
I would imagine it takes a lot of, humility, being honest with each other, but also not having too much pride to say, no, we have to have this my way or this, that, and the third.
Right, yeah. I mean, being creative, it's a vulnerable space to be in. So, like, your emotions can get...
And I think
but we're...
if there's something that one of us really wants, the other one will be like, I don't know that I like this, but I get that you really like it, so we'll go with that. We're both like, I think we can both lay our pride down and just be like, I get that you're really into this, even though I'm not.
Yeah.
So
sometimes it also depends on where you are in the song building process. Mm-hmm. Like if it's early on, like you're hearing this thing you don't like, but once once we add everything, it actually sounds awesome. So like, yeah, there's a lot of situations, but we do pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Devil Behind My Door. Mm-hmm. We have another single that's coming that was mentioned a little earlier.
Yep.
If you can, reveal it when it's dropping, maybe tentatively.
Yeah, it'll be out May 30th.
Okay.
It's called Stay With Me.
Stay With Me.
And if you've seen us live or whoever's listening, you've probably heard it because we've been playing it for a long time.
So it's not like a secret song.
It's one of my favorite songs that we do.
Yeah.
And it seems like other people we talk to, they really like it. So we're excited that that'll be out.
Yeah. Like Devil, it's two that we've played. They're two that we've played for a while. And people seem to both really like those songs. So we're like, we got to release them. Mm-hmm. They both go over well live. So we got to release them at some point. They just maybe didn't necessarily fit on the record, we felt like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So moving forward as well. So we have May 30th, the latest single, Stay With Me, but a record that's coming soon, The Sophomore.
Soon, tentatively. No, we're definitely working on stuff.
We've been,
as you can
we have
probably
been.
tell so far, our process is very slow.
Yeah,
we're with the benefit of having a studio. Like I said, it's a blessing and a curse because you have time.
Go in there whenever.
But the curse is also you have time. So you're like, oh, well, we can do this. Like we put stuff off if we have to. And now that we're both self-employed freelancers, it's easy to be like, to kind of be like, okay, we'll find time to do that at a different time. Instead of like being more diligent about like, oh, we only have a few hours after work, we'll set this time apart. So we are working, she's written a bunch of stuff, probably, over 10 songs, maybe 15.
Probably, yeah.
There's a bunch.
Yeah. But we're also writing in a different way for this one too. We're sort of, I'm not like just sitting down and writing and bringing it in. We're sort of building songs backwards. I'm like trying to learn some drum machines and different gear and stuff now. Like, so it's been a longer process, but it's challenging, but it's really fun to sort of, instead of starting with melodic things like chords and vocal melodies, I'm starting with percussion and sort of building. So that, that just takes longer, especially for someone like me who doesn't really know how to use all the gear.
Yeah.
And Alex has been patient about it.
Well, I didn't either, though, like, talking about like drum machines and stuff, like I got into that when we were doing our record, because I was like, the first record, I was like, I want to learn how to do this, like especially like drum machines and programming specifically. Mm-hmm. So like I am not that much, I'm just like a few years ahead of you.
We're just learning synths and drum machines all at once, and so it's but like I don't want to just like try to write an electronic record. Like I want it to still be like melodic and sound like that. So you have all these different challenges. So it is taking longer, but it's fun.
Next year would be, I hope, next year would be great.
Expect it next year. We're putting This is a Cool Hand podcast exclusive.
It's official. You said it.
I mean, we need. It might be good, like give us something to shoot for.
Yeah, exactly. Like he said, when we're self-employed, like, what is time?
We're just putting it out there. We're putting it out there. Cool Hand podcast exclusive.
Now you know.
Yeah.
So, we talked about some live stuff too, and I like to ask this question to performing acts. What is the live experience like for Ann Eliza?
So fun. It's literally like my favorite.
Yeah.
Performing live. But as far as like production and stuff,
I mean, it's great to take these songs that we worked on in the studio and give them a live, be able to play them in a live setting.
Yeah. And we always have a drummer and a guitar player now with us. So it's like full band, and that chemistry on stage is its own thing.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. And hopefully, I mean, the idea is hopefully one day we'll be able to add and have even more like, I would love to have more keyboards. Like more
synths.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have a lot, even build on it more. But just, where we are right now, it's just like makes sense to be a 4-piece with that stuff.
Yeah, because you'd have to break up the bag 6 different ways.
Oh, yeah, we'd have a lot.
I mean, really.
Yeah, we would. I mean, it would be amazing, but, that's also...
But that's what we hope to, that's where we hope to get eventually, where we're like...
I just want to be Radiohead. Yeah. 2 drummers.
Yeah, 2 drummers.
Skip to the part where we're
radio. Guitar players, yeah.
They do everything live. There's a huge synth on stage. Yeah.
Because financially speaking, I know it's not easy out here. Performing acts have a lot. If you're not Jay-Z, Beyonce, Drake, Harry Styles, if you're not Adele, it's not the easiest process to go to different places and perform. You're usually bringing your gear. You have to set up, be there at a specific time, so much in advance than everyone else. So is it exhausting? Now, you are a full-time musician.
Yes.
So you're flexing these vocals X amount of times a week. Mm-hmm. So what is that like? Do you get tired of it at some point?
Tired of it? I get tired. I don't think I ever... I'm only about a year and a half in to being a full-time musician, so I'm not tired of it, but it can be exhausting, just the prep for a show and like the business promo, all that stuff is what's tiring. Once you get to the show and get to do all the fun stuff...
Yeah, the hour of playing is the best.
It's great.
It's great.
It's more just the prep for that. But like, I get to sing for people for a living. I was in ticketing for almost like 7 years, and as much as I loved the people I worked with in the company and whatever, I was like, why am I doing music on the side? Like, this is all I want to do. So like, to sing and play piano for people as a living is like a dream in whatever capacity. But yeah, it can be exhausting.
I mean, but truly, like you mentioned the financial struggles.
Yes.
And like, that's why we would definitely, like, if that wasn't real, we'd be a bigger band, like bigger as in number of people.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, so you just do what you can with the resources you have.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing right now.
That's what's up. Now, I want to ask you some questions, Ann, about since you are flexing your vocals X amount of times a week and for extensive periods sometimes, with some breaks in between, what's some advice to someone who would want to be where you're at now, where you're singing multiple times a week? What's some preparation? We talked about rest before we started filming. So what do you do to be able to perform at the highest level?
Rest is number one. Your voice is part of your body. If you're tired, you got to support your voice with your breath. And if you're slouching because you're so exhausted, it's not going to work. But also just technique. I mean, to be able to perform for 4 hours or anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, 3 to 5 nights a week or whatever, on top of practicing and everything. Like, I have an amazing voice teacher I check in with once a year now, but I've had her as my voice teacher for many years. And it's good to just like, if you're learning or you want to get better, it's good to have a vocal instructor and make sure you're doing all those warm-ups every single time before you have a gig, every single time before you practice, because that it's like when you're running, you don't just start running a half marathon without stretching and warming up. It's the same thing with your vocal cords. So that's the most important thing.
I learned all her vocal exercises.
When we were in Austin at South by, there's a funny video of that.
We had to.
And they're changed now. I checked in with Amelia, my voice teacher,
now.
and she was like, "Oh no, voice pedagogy it's all changed." Like she's like, because when I went full time, I was struggling with my voice a little bit, and I was wondering why. I was like, is it because I'm singing so much? Checked in with her. She's like, those vocal warm-ups are old. She's like, your voice has changed. Voice pedagogy has changed. Let's update you. And it has transformed. Singing 4 hours is not a big deal anymore.
Yeah. So,
but yeah. What were our old ones? See,
going to gigs. Yeah, she's always
doing all these things,
doing all these warm-ups.
And he was driving to the gig. I was like, I gotta warm up, and then he just joined in, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. I've never had this happen before.
That's awesome. Now I'm ignorant. What is? Now I know what a voice is, but what is pedagogy?
Oh, voice pedagogy. Okay. Wow, I'm the last person to ask. Maybe not the last, but it's like the science of your voice.
Okay.
Essentially, and like, if Amelia watches this, she's gonna be like, "No, Ann, that's not right." But like, I'm pretty sure it's sort of the science of your voice and how it functions. You know, speaking versus singing, and glottal fry, which is how Kim Kardashian talks, which is down here. So like, what's good for it? What's not? Like talking up here. Like I'm being a little lazy right now, like because I'm a little tired. But like, you should be talking up here, so it's not. Your vocal cords aren't like hitting each other, and whispering is really bad because they rub each other and it's bad. Anyway, it's the science, and Amelia's gonna clock me on all of this.
I'm learning new things.
No, you get an A+ because I learned a lot. I learned a whole lot.
Vocal pedagogy. She's got like a PhD plus in that. So yeah.
Okay, so let's take a little turn. We're gonna talk about some non-music things very briefly. What are some things that people don't know about you guys? Maybe some hobbies that you're into, maybe a certain skill. I don't know if you're like a mathematician on the side.
Certainly not.
What do people not know about me? I don't know. I'm not like a public person or anything, but I can't like. Everyone knows I have a dog.
I was just
especially
gonna say,
now.
My hobby is her dog.
Yeah. He comes over just to see the dog.
I do.
Snoring right now. I know your hobby, but
wait, I do?
Yeah, it's Beatles related.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's still kind of music. See, I just think of it all as like music is like one big thing.
Okay, but like, that's like a big, that's like a major hobby.
It is. I know. I can say that. I have a blog where I write about. This is how obsessed with the Beatles I am.
It's awesome.
There's a book. There's 2 books about the Beatles, about their gear, and the studios and like all the recording.
And they all have their own separate studios, right?
Yeah. So my idea was like, I was interested in what their studios and equipment were after the Beatles, which there wasn't like anything really that much written about. So I just like to scratch my own itch. Over the pandemic, I started researching all their musical equipment and studios stuff from their solo careers. So I started.
We're getting nerdy.
Yeah, it's real. It's super nerdy. So I have this blog called Solo Beatles Studios, and it's an Instagram account too, where I research and I write about all their equipment from 1970 to current day. So,
but you have like 8,000 followers.
Yeah, it's
so he's not the only one that enjoys this.
Yeah, no,
which is cool.
Yeah, a lot of people do. So yeah, so that's that's a one hobby that takes up a fair amount of my time.
Wow, Solo Beatles Studios.
Yeah,
interesting. See, this is good stuff. This is good to know.
Yeah,
you are. I'm just going to say it. You're an expert with this stuff because after all this research, and you said during the pandemic, that's 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
That's 2 to 3 years ago. So you have a lot of research under your belt already.
Yeah. I kind of have a background in my first job in audio was in archiving. So we would take analog audio and digitize it. So I kind of have this background, and the first job I had was working in a library. So I kind of had this research archiving background. So that, with like my love of the Beatles, kind of formed into this hobby. So yeah, I've been doing it for 4 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been I've met a lot of really cool people, and it's been really neat. Yeah. So I wouldn't have remembered. I probably wouldn't have remembered. To say, I mean,
every day this man posts for all the people to read.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That's
yeah.
what's up.
It's definitely a lot of things I've learned about gear.
Hobbies.
Yeah. I have interests. Are they hobbies? I have no idea.
Like what?
I don't know. Sewing, fashion.
Oh,
yeah,
right,
I don't know. I mean, like thrifting. Is that a hobby?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Thrifting. I love thrifting. Like huge. I thrift all my flares.
Yeah,
I model sometimes.
She's definitely like really into clothes and stuff.
Like I would love to have like a Instagram account that partners with yours that's just on Beatles fashion and Beatles fan
I
fashion.
keep telling her to do it.
I don't know who has like I don't even have time for that.
Well,
It's priorities.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it probably would be really fun. Which
childless
is still
and single,
yeah.
so
I have a dog child.
I have time.
But yeah, I like don't. And my other hobby, I've started doing yoga. Is that a hobby?
Sure.
I really like fitness and cooking.
Oh yeah,
There.
she's a great cook.
Oh, you
Cooking and
cook too?
baking.
She's a great cook.
And I
yeah.
have gluten and dairy allergies, so baking has become very different in my house. So I started baking when I was very young. Cupcakes. I would do all my friends' cakes and all that stuff. And now I can't really like do that anymore. I have to alter all the ingredients, but it's fun. For someone who like totally failed at science, baking is very scientific. I'm okay at it.
Yeah, no, you're good at it, and it's cool to watch because it's like it's its own creative process because she's making these like she'll make a dessert that clearly usually would have like flour and dairy and all these things in it, and she figures out how to make it and taste good without any of those ingredients, which is like
It does taste pretty good.
mind.
I just made you key lime pie for your birthday,
Yeah,
and
it was
that was paleo.
Yeah.
Which is only unrefined sugar like maple syrup, whatever, and no. So it's much more extreme than just gluten and dairy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
it's
yeah.
definitely its own creative process.
Yeah, it's fun. I like
Yeah.
it's like cathartic for me too to do that. Like, yeah, it's creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big reader too. I guess that would be the other. I don't know if that's
You read a
hobby,
lot.
but I read a lot. I like
Keeps
reading.
You
the
read
mind
enough for it to be a hobby. Yes.
I'm just a very curious person, I think. So I just if
Your
something
reading has influenced my reading.
I'm just very curious. So if it's like, oh, that's a topic that interests me, I just get a book and read about it. So
Yeah.
And I respect that so much.
I didn't like reading until I was like, I certainly didn't read like in high school. I probably read like 2 books in high school. I was not good a student.
You're good now.
Yeah.
So, all right. Just digging a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And for some, hopefully this offers some hope to some people out there because you talked about sobriety. We talked about Devil Behind My Door. I'm not going to pry and ask too many questions, but, I got this job, really gets on my nerves sometimes. No job is perfect, right? In case they see this. But I do work with people who have substance use disorder, and if somebody is going through that or trying to get over the hump, so to speak, because addiction is a very real thing and it's nothing to play with, nothing to joke about. It's very serious. What advice would you give to someone, maybe a suggestion, something that helped you or how you feel today versus how you felt in the past?
I would say ask for help because it's not anything that you can do alone, nor should you. And ask for help repeatedly because anyone addiction related or not, everyone needs help in their life, throughout their life. But I think addiction is isolation and the opposite is community. If I'm going to simplify. So that was the first thing I did. I hit rock bottom and I asked for help. I saw some program that my church offered, and I had emailed the pastor at my old church, and he connected me with a therapist. So I actually didn't go into AA. I know a lot of people that have. I know a lot of people that been sober a long time and go every week, sometimes multiple times a week, and that's what they need, and they need that help. They need that community, and that's really important. So I would. That's probably the most important thing. Ask for help, and like, you're going to have expectations of what kind of help you think you need or what response you want from someone. Erase that, because this is something that you need help with, and whatever someone can help offer you that you might, if you believe that that's right, just go forward and let them help you. And if you get turned away, just keep asking, because I'm here. You can always contact me if you do struggle with addiction. I'm happy to, like, message me or whatever. I'm always happy to share my story, and just be there for someone. I have 2 people in my life that are 2 very important. My husband, Justin, never struggled with anything like that. But when I got sober, he got like, he does not drink or do anything. And when we hang out, Alex has very kindly agreed right after we met, actually, to stay sober when we're together. So I'm very fortunate to have 2 very close people in my life. And that has been a huge, huge game changer. 'Cause you could just be anywhere by yourself and just feel totally aware of the bar over there or whatever, and you have no one with you. Like, one person to like go to a concert with makes all the difference. So, yeah.
Thank you very, very much for sharing. Because it's something when you announced or gave a description of Devil Behind My Door at Club Cafe, I'm like, oh, so this is the inspiration behind the song. I'm like, that's very interesting, given the scope of work that I'm in. So thank you for sharing that. And I think if somebody is struggling with anything, any sort of addiction, vice, whatever, your words of advice or your testimony and story can be of encouragement to them. So let's, in kind of concluding things, this is kind of an open floor. If your host didn't ask you the right question, if you have any shout outs, any appreciation you want to give to anybody who helped you musically in this area, that area, this is an open floor for you guys. Any advice for musicians, the floor is yours.
You have anything? No pressure.
Thanks for being my bandmate.
Thanks for being mine.
I'm not easy to work with all the time or be friends with. So,
I am, though.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we're I think we're very fortunate because we work well together. We're a good team. We're friends and musical collaborators, and I think we're very fortunate to have found another person that kind of speaks the same language musically as each other, which is really great. And we both, like I said, we work slowly. We've worked slowly over these years, but we both enjoy the process, which I think is really important. Because if we didn't, it would be too long, and we'd probably
be miserable.
We'd probably not be doing this anymore.
No, but we both get excited about small progresses and different things. So also, it amazes me because we come from such different musical backgrounds, and I think that is so cool. Like, just vastly different backgrounds, and we work really well together, and that's just amazing to me.
The 2 different worlds coming together, it kind of created like a new balance,
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely, because there were some things that we shared in common. Like I said, like we both kind of grew up, parents of the same era and classic rock and Beatles.
Yeah, actually, your mom and my dad went to middle school together.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? But also, like, I was definitely like more into like indie music, and she was more into pop music in general.
Divas.
Yeah. So that's also been fun because it like also gives you such a wider breadth of influences to work from, because you introduced me to a lot of music that I never would have listened to, and vice versa.
Yeah, you like Harry Styles.
I do. I think that first record's great. I love that record.
I do.
But I never, like, I literally never would have listened to Harry Styles. It just wouldn't have occurred to me. Like, not like it's like it just never.
It's not your genre at all, or your that. Yeah,
it just never would have crossed my mind. So yeah.
And Eliza, everybody. You can catch their music on all streaming platforms: Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, Pandora, Deezer. I don't know.
Title?
MySpace.
Is that still a thing? MySpace.
MySpace.
Title. MySpace.
Friendster.
All of that. And this is the Cool Hand Podcast, something you got to deal with. I'll catch you next time. Thank you for being on the show.
You.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, this is great.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
awesome. Thank you.
And that's it. Easy. We did it.
Awesome.